Welcome back to the show this week. Our special guest is Nate Mulberg, assistant coach, recruiting coordinator at the University of Richmond, South Jersey native, Cherry Hill. Plenty of Jersey credentials we can establish later to get him to fit in here on the channel. And certainly one of the things we want to talk about with you, Coach, is you are the leader, as far as I know, is most interesting summer vacation. You finished up the season at Richmond and moved into coaching, assistant coach for Team Israel at the Tokyo Olympics. So I guess we'll throw a billion thoughts at you at one time, but first, welcome, and second, just welcome back to the U.S. And let's start by talking about the craziness of the summer and your incredible experience.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely very special and unique. I've said this a number of times, very thankful to my boss, Tracy Woodson, our head coach here at Richmond, for, just supporting this opportunity for me personally. Pays a lot of dividends, I think, to our program for a number of reasons, but most importantly, just I learned so much during my time with the Israel Olympic team, just working with so many great players who are all in professional baseball in some capacity or who have played for a really long time. Just stuff that I can bring back, lessons that I learned, bring back to the players here at Richmond that we work with. So just really awesome experience. I did get to do some recruiting the first month of the summer in June before I had to report to our Olympic training camp, which we had throughout the Northeast for a few weeks in July prior to leaving for Tokyo. And then, like you said, the experience in Japan was just terrific. In all facets, just for a number of reasons, obviously with our team, particularly with our coaching staff, but also just getting to know athletes and amazing individuals from all over the world, the country. That was really, really beneficial and very exciting, something that insanely thankful for, and I'll never forget.
So, a lot of times we talk about baseball, how everybody seems to be connected to somebody else, and it's such a tight world. Your story a little bit, graduate Cherry Hill East, play University of Rochester, immediately go into coaching from there, F&M for a couple of years while you're getting your master's. It was was it Bucknell for a year, right? And then off to Richmond. How did this opportunity, come about? Because it seemed like in doing some reading, you're, obviously kind of like everybody, first introduction to the Israeli team on the world stage was the 2017 WBC. Right. Coach Weinstein's team that surprised everybody and got to the second round. But from there, just explain to us how you connected with Coach Holtz, another friend of the Generals, and an amazing guy himself. But how that led to this opportunity for you.
Yeah, for sure. So, Skipper Holtzy, obviously really good friend of mine, great guy, and someone that I've been very lucky to know for many years. I guess the gist of it is that when I coached at Bucknell, that's really when I was introduced to him. So this was back in 2016, so about 5 or 6 years ago. And Eric, his son, Jordan, actually played at Bucknell a few years before I was there. So through just the Bucknell network, I got to know Eric through, he was very involved with the Maccabi baseball, which is basically an Olympic-style sporting event that happens in Israel every few years for like Jewish Olympic-type athletes. And so Eric was the manager of that team. I actually was on the team when I was in high school. So we just had a lot of mutual connections from that standpoint. And then just over my time working at Bucknell and then Richmond, we just fostered a very strong relationship. I was fortunate enough to coach a player by the name of John DeMarty my first year at Richmond. He was a third baseman and pitcher who then went on to play pro ball as a pitcher. But when he graduated, he got into professional baseball, and I was speaking to Holtz, and I informed him, hey, I was assuming he knew John DeMarty. John DeMarty was a 2-time New York Gatorade Player of the Year from, right outside Westchester, New York, where Holtzy's from. Holtz didn't know that John was actually Jewish, eligible for the national team that he was coaching. So I helped make that introduction. And then over time, John ended up joins that team, becomes a crucial piece of our team in the qualifiers in 2019. And then when there was an opportunity to add an extra coach as we were going into the qualifiers, my relationship with Eric, and then my relationship with John as well, just pushing for me as a player, that kind of all materialized me being a member of the coaching staff.
Sure. No, and then you become part of the staff and are all set for 2020, right? Yeah, for the Olympics, and then all of a sudden that gets wiped out for a year too, right? I mean, that's like the whole thing just it's like a movie almost, right? You have to wait another year before this happens, and then you finally get to go, and you know, is there any way to even describe what it means to you, not just as a Jewish kid growing up in Cherry Hill, but also as a young coach?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was a sigh of relief that the games did happen, because I mean, just like all of us, right? We all have had, every person in the world has been challenged in some capacity by the pandemic, and it was very disheartening and upsetting for everybody involved with our team and all Olympians to have had the games be postponed in 2020. So I think that for me personally, there was definitely a little bit of stress and concern about whether the games would happen like they did. And so when we found out that they were going to happen and we got there, it was such a moment of relief, I think, for all of us, just to know that, this was really happening. But in terms of me being a part of this, and I've told Eric this, and I always say to him how thankful I am that he gave me this opportunity to be a part of the staff. I mean, for me, it really is, and it sounds cliche, but a dream come true, because I mean, I grew up in Cherry Hill in a pretty observant Jewish household. My parents, and we all kept kosher in the house. My mom, kosher still to this day. I keep kosher. So it just, Judaism was always a really important part of my upbringing in life. I grew up playing basketball at the JCC, and I did all the Maccabi games, played baseball many years, the JCC Maccabi games. And so, to be honest, I never thought, that this would be something that I could have had a chance to be a part of, but something that always was, a dream of mine. So fact of the matter is, I think from an experience standpoint, just a life standpoint, I mean, I feel very fulfilled in a way that I got to live out my dream, because, truthfully, even though it was something I always wanted and worked very hard to be a part of and have happen, just like anything else, you never really know if it's going to happen for sure until it actually does. So I'm just very thankful for the chance.
Especially in this case, right? It's
right.
You obviously go through the camps that coach had here in in the US, getting ready, the tour that you guys took to a bunch of the indie clubs in July.
Yeah.
But was there a moment where I mean, you're kind of in the experience as it happens, but where it really just kind of hits and overwhelms you, whether it was the opening ceremonies, whether it was a specific moment that happened, whether it was the victory, the first Olympic win against Mexico? Was there any one moment where it was just like, wow?
Yeah, for sure. I think walking out into the field in Yokohama for the first game against Korea, that was just like a wow moment where, just they decorated that stadium beautifully. I know it was probably a little difficult to really appreciate it on TV for people watching, but just breathtaking experience, breathtaking sight, especially not really having fans there. It just kind of gave you this feeling of just how big the stadium is. Would have been great to have fans, but I'll never forget walking out into the field for the first time. And then, like you said, when we beat Mexico in Game 3 to avoid elimination, I just remember spending time with the coaching staff, Eric, Nate Fish, Angela Lorraine, and Alex Jacobs, our trainers, Yoni and Dan Rutenberg, just taking photos with them and just being able to see on the scoreboard that we had won. That was a feeling that it's impossible to put into words. That was the first time, Israel had ever won a game in baseball in the Olympics, and the first time that we'd won a team sport game since 1968. So just thinking about, as we were going through that game, I'll never forget, in like the 7th inning, we were up by like 6 or 7 runs. And I started thinking to myself, wow, if this really happens, we're about to make history. Mm-hmm. That is a feeling that, I'll never forget. It was definitely just the moment that, looking back on, I'll always say, made me realize, wow, we're really here at the Olympics. We just did something really special.
Sure. Now let's tie it back into to New Jersey a bit and talk about your experiences, growing up obviously in South Jersey, how growing up in that baseball environment, which I always say is unlike any in the U.S., shaped you. Some of your other experiences, interning with the Thunder, all these things. How do they, you're still early in your coaching career, obviously working towards the end goal. How do all these things kind of get you to this position?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the big thing I would say is that ever since I was a little kid, baseball has really taken up the vast majority of my time in my life. That's always been my biggest passion. I love playing. I spent hours hitting in the basement we had at my parents' house. When I was in high school, I convinced my dad to help me build a 36-foot batting cage, which is not very long, but we built one in our backyard, and it was big enough to do some underhand toss and some tee work. And I spent hours upon hours out there. And so I just think, like you said, the South Jersey baseball environment is very unique, something I'm very proud to be a part of. And I think it's because it's such a kind of like a densely populated, concentrated area. It's a small area, relatively speaking, in terms of just the size of it compared to maybe other states, other regions. But baseball is so important in this area, and there's so many great players and so many great programs. So when you spend, your years of like middle school, even going through high school, playing against all these amazing players from all these different cities, Millville and, Eastern High School in Voorhees, Lenape, Cherokee, Cherry Hill West, everywhere. Bishop Eustace, Gloucester Catholic. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, these are the guys that we're playing against every single day. So because you're playing so many great players on a daily basis, it makes you a better player. It really just has a huge impact on you. Like my coach in high school, I played for Eric Radville, who played at East. I also played for Dave Martin, who's a legend in South Jersey baseball. He was the longtime head coach at East and then was an assistant when I was there. He played at Gloucester Catholic. He pitched in the College World Series for Southern Illinois. I still talk to him weekly. I think all these different experiences I had, it just created this passion that I had for baseball that, throughout middle school, high school, I just worked so hard. And then as I've gone into coaching, it's a huge part of my life. I mean, I always say I don't really have many hobbies outside of work because I feel like, my hobby is my work. It's my passion. It's my love. And so as a result of that, I love every day of what I do. And I just know for sure the South Jersey baseball experience has played a huge role in my life and something I'm very proud to be a part of.
For sure. And now we're going to tie you into to the ACBL, obviously a theme here for us through the year. Richmond now Team ACBL after sweeping our two big awards with Chase Conklin winning the MVP and grad student Winston Allen winning our Pitcher of the Year. Last year was kind of an incomplete A10 season, but what are we looking at for Richmond this year? Kind of still testing, but hopefully working towards a normal, relatively normal schedule. Some excitement with some of the younger guys and some of the more established guys kind of hopefully melding together and potentially being a force in the A10.
Yeah, for sure. So we brought in a little bit of a smaller class for freshmen this year, and then we brought in 5 or 6 transfers as well. The college baseball environment landscape has really changed a lot, as we all know, because of the COVID and the extra years. So with our younger guys, I'm really excited because I think we have some really high quality and really talented players. I think for us, with us being able to maybe bring in a few less high school guys and as a result be able to bring in some older transfers like Winston, as you mentioned, it just allowed us to really focus on specific targets that we're looking at from high school and then really just go after the best players we like. So I know that this freshman class is really talented, and I'm really excited about what Chase did. He did great. And I know how hard he's worked, especially to get bigger and stronger. He had a great high school career. I remember watching him, even before I was at Richmond. I saw him when he was a freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget in the state, I think it was the group semis or the non-public championship, South Jersey. He got a hit off a breaking ball against St. Augustine, and the game was at Ryder. So I know how great of a player Chase is, and I'm just so fired up for him that he had the summer he had. because he didn't play a ton this last spring. And again, I think a lot of it was because he was just, getting bigger and stronger. And I know he's worked so hard at that. So his success doesn't surprise me. And I'm so excited to see what he's going to do this year for us. And then I think, at the end of the day, it's a great culture here at Richmond. All the guys really want to win and they work hard. And I'm happy we have that South Jersey flair here on our team. We have Josh Willits and Chase and Rob Reddy.
Yes.
Going to be here this year as well.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting that we have all these South Jersey guys on our team as well.
So let's finish up with this. Again, you'll remember summer 2021 forever, obviously.
Right.
Think back on this experience. How does this make you a better coach? How you mentioned fulfilled, obviously, personally and moving forward. What are you going to take from this summer that's just going to be, just push you up into the stratosphere?
Sure. So, I think the biggest takeaway I took away from the experience with Israel, as I reflected, I tried to be very intentional about taking as much in as I could when we had all the baseball experiences. We had guys on our team like Danny Valencia, 10+ year big league career, Ian Kinsler. Everybody hopefully knows who Ian Kinsler is. He actually finished, I think, with 1,999 hits.
Yeah.
One of the things he's kind of known for. So I spent a lot of time with Ian. We had Ryan LaVarnway on our team. He was in the big leagues this season. So we had a ton of really great players. Blake Galen, Ty Kelly, he was in the bigs for many years. So, when you're in this environment, these are guys that obviously have competed at the highest level, and there's not so much coaching, if any, that I need to do. Sometimes they'd ask me for my suggestions or my thoughts, and I would give it to them. But I spent a lot of time, just watching. And when I threw batting practice or did flips or watched them take grounders or hit them take grounders, I really tried to watch how they moved and what their focus level was like. The biggest thing for me that stood out was just what I just said, how focused and detail-oriented they were in all of their work. To me, to be around these guys on a daily basis for basically a month and to just see how focused they were at every moment when we were on the field, that's what stood out to me the most. Even just thinking about T-work. T-work, these guys, when they're doing it, they don't talk very much. They're just locked in on their 10 swings, and that's all they're worried about. They're not talking to their buddies behind home plate. So I learned a lot about mechanics and different drills they may do, but I think the biggest thing for me is just getting a sense of, from a mentality standpoint, what it takes to get to that level, like Ian Kinsler and Danny Valencia. To me, that's really the biggest thing I took away that I think will help me as a coach and help the players at Richmond.
Because I personally believe once you get to a certain level, it's not talent that's the differentiator. It's focus. It's your ability to handle and process situations and anticipate. And, I think everybody at that level has got.
There's no question. Again, even during our games, right? Like, there was nothing that was not taken very seriously. And that's not to say that guys weren't having fun and they were loose. They were totally loose, relaxed. But it's like something I always see that I harp on with the base runners is like, when you hit a double, don't worry about celebrating until you see what's going on in the field. Because again, in our sport, people love to celebrate and whatever, do a dance or whatever at second base. But I would watch, and all the guys on this team, after they got to second base, they really looked around the outfield. They saw where the relay throw was coming in, and they're looking to advance the next base on an errant throw before they're, waving to the dugout to celebrate their double or something like that. So it's stuff like that, just always thinking about the next play and trying to take the extra base and just being locked in at all moments when you're in the course of the game, that I found was just really monumental for me to see.
Takes a good team and makes it a great team.
Right.
We appreciate the time, Coach. Again, Nate Mulberg on the Jersey Baseball Show this week. Very much Jersey and very much an amazing summer with the Team Israel and the Tokyo Olympics. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Mike.